What draws someone to live in a certain place? Maybe it's the clean air, endless skies, and the lack of rush hour traffic? Or the comfort of having everything your family needs close by? Here, nature surrounds you, community welcomes you, and opportunity is everywhere. Whether you're building a career or making memories, it's a place where life feels just right. Bismarck Mandan. Make your mark in a community you'll never forget.
All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy 1 Million Cups Wednesday. My name is Tyler DeMars. I'm with the North Dakota Small Business Development Centers, and I will be your MC today. First off, how many first-timers to 1 Million Cups this morning? We have a bunch. Welcome. Glad to have you. Absolutely. Let's hear it for them. Good. Thank you for making it this morning. I see we have a lot of UMary students in the room. Glad to have you here. Hope you enjoyed the experience. You might be asking yourself, what do we do here at 1 Million Cups? Why do we come here every Wednesday morning? So 1 Million Cups is a professional development and networking program that we organize. Takes place every Wednesday morning right here at Dakota Stage Theater. We put a different entrepreneur, small business owner, sometimes nonprofit leaders or event organizers, put them on stage, let them tell the story of what they're trying to accomplish, what their biggest challenges are, and then we kind of act as a community sounding board or advisory board for them. Have a conversation, do some Q&A. The idea is hopefully to give them some insights, ask them some questions, hopefully connect them to some resources, and give them a better chance to succeed. So the question we're asking every week is, can we change the face of our startup community by connecting local entrepreneurs over 1 million cups of coffee? This is year 13 of our program here in Bismarck and Mandan, so we've been doing this a while. Not sure on the coffee count, but we're working on, we have a spreadsheet that we're trying to tally that with. We're just not quite complete yet. Another thing, thank you to our sponsors. So we have different organizations and folks in town that support our program. These are our Venti sponsors, so National Day Calendar, the Bisman Chamber, and Sandstead Law Offices. We do follow the tall grande venter tiers for our sponsors, following the coffee theme. I can't be the only one that anytime you see that, you think of the Paul Rudd bit from Role Models. Have you come to mind for anybody? Yeah. Yes. If you don't know it, just Google Paul Rudd stupid in 3 languages. It's worth a watch, okay? Our one grande sponsor, the University of Mary, so thank you to all. Actually, let's hear it for the University of Mary. You're sponsoring the program. You're bringing your students in this morning. We love it. Appreciate the support and your participation here. And then our tall sponsors here, thank you to them as well. Our last, and then these are all our in-kind sponsors. So these are organizations that give some of their people's time, maybe offer to MC every once in a while, giving in-kind donations to the program to support it. So, all right. So as always, after Kay presents this morning, we'll do our Q&A session. So as Kay's talking, be thinking about questions you have, things you're curious about, maybe some insights for her. Where would you like her to dig in a little deeper? During Q&A, raise your hand. We'll get the mic mug in your hand so you can ask that question. Before we get started, a few community announcements. So as always, every day we're celebrating every day with National Day Calendar. Today is National Inventors Day, so very appropriate for 1 Million Cups and entrepreneurs. We've had a number of inventors and product-based businesses on stage here. The product-based business is just a much different startup runway than a brick and mortar or a service provider or somebody in the trades. It just takes a lot longer to get going. There's a lot more risk involved, and inventors are a key part of our ecosystem. So we don't have our mad scientist, our inventor is Evan Anderson with Gizmonics. He's traveling today, but we can give a special shout out to Evan today on National Inventors Day. All right, anybody from Giving Hearts Day here? Yep. Trevor? Oh, thank you, Trevor.
You're welcome, I got you. So Trevor with Patriot Nutrition. Tomorrow's Giving Hearts Day, in case you didn't know, which I know you all did, but we're doing a Customer Appreciation Day on Giving Hearts Day, and we're partnered with Soul 57. So part of our combo, which is a shake that's a meal replacement, and believe it or not, that is under 300 calories. Okay, the tea's got 50 calories in it, 200 milligrams of caffeine, so it's going to get you buzzing throughout the rest of the day, which is why I kind of always move. But $5 of every combo that we sell tomorrow is going to go to Soul 57, which helps with youth grief. So any youth that had a loss in their immediate family up to ages 24. So it's a great organization, which is why we chose to partner with them. And then also it's just, you can find me about a little bit of my personal story, why we chose them. But yeah, so that's tomorrow all day from 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Awesome. Thanks, Trevor. Hi, this one's actually, this one's mine. Friends of the Bismarck Public Library doing a flash sale, a children's book flash sale, Valentine's Day, this Saturday at 10 to noon. So this is at the Bismarck Veterans Memorial Public Library. They had a really neat vintage book sale a couple Saturdays ago. There was some nice finds there. There was some autograph books, and this one, I don't know if we'll have autograph books, but it's some of them are donated, some of them are churning old inventory through the children's library. So if you're looking for a fun time with kids, a way to get them out of the house, this might be an event you want to check out. Also at the library, we have a Storytime concert coming up. The Missouri Valley Chamber Orchestra, a special musical reading, Hans Christian Andersen's The Princess and the Pea. So this is part of the larger Winterfest program, which is a kind of a campaign celebrating winter, spearheaded by the Northern Plains Heritage Foundation. As the library is also a big partner on this. So Saturday, February 21st, 10:30 a.m. in the Children's Library Story Room. Also, should be a fun event for kids to check out. Another one for me here, the Bismarck Mandan Coffee Crawl. So this is Saturday, February 21st. Anything coffee-centric, we like to highlight here at 1 Million Cups. So this is, the QR code is right there. That'll take you to the Facebook event page for it. You can pre-buy passes for it, and you get to check out a bunch of different coffee shops around town, taste testing some of their best offerings. They're putting on their best face for the morning because they know people are doing that coffee crawl. Check out that QR code. It's done by URL Radio is who's spearheading this one. But if that QR code isn't working, if you just search Bismarck Mandan Coffee Crawl on Facebook, it'll pop up as well. So should be another fun event to check out. All right, Jamestown Regional Entrepreneurs Center. Anybody here? Is it you, Mark?
I got recruited.
Got some steps in too.
Good morning. In Jamestown, the Jamestown Regional Entrepreneur Center will be having in March 10th and 11th a 2-day session with a host of wonderful speakers, and it's basically a women's business conference for 2 full days, and they've got like I said, a host of wonderful speakers. We're one of the individuals that will be there. Will be the Women's Business Center. There will be several people from different organizations in leadership, management, different types of organizations, and also just some practical tips on how we'll move forward and that kind of thing. Tyler and I both have experience with this group, so if you have any questions, you can ask us, but save the date. It'll be a valuable piece of information for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. All right, another one for me here. So this is our Business Builder webinar series, which some of you may have heard of in the past. This is organized by a number of different resource partners across the state helping entrepreneurs, but really at the SBDC centers, Small Business Development Centers, we have 10 different advisors across the state. And one thing we do with these programs is we take some of the most commonly asked questions that we get as business advisors, ones that we maybe don't have as much expertise in or don't have the time to dig in deeper with our clients, and we find subject matter experts to do a deeper dive in these 1-hour webinars. So these are free. There's an archive of them available at ndsbdc.org. You'll notice this first one on there is February 10th. That's yesterday, so we missed that one. But it is archived. All of them are archived at ndsbdc.org. One I'd like to highlight is Faith Heron, who is a valuable part of our 1 Million Cups community. She's helped with organizing some matchups and some meetups. She's spoken on this stage. She's going to be April 14th talking about why being old-fashioned in business is actually a superpower. So Faith is an interesting character. She's definitely an old soul, but she's also a subject matter expert and the leading edge of integrating AI, artificial intelligence tools, for businesses and entrepreneurs. So all of these are great content. Like I said, check out ndsbdc.org to learn more about them. But it's free, and if you're in the entrepreneurial space, I'd encourage you to check it out. All right, any other announcements this morning? Okay, no worries. If you ever do have an announcement, that 1mcbizman701@gmail.com is the place to send it to. If you have a slide and you'd like to make an announcement, send it there. Of course, we'd love for you to be here to make that announcement in person, but give us some details. We're happy to do the announcement on your behalf as well. All right, well, without further ado then, let's get to why you came here this morning. This morning we have Kay LaCoe. She is the founder of LaCoe Solutions, a consulting business that she started here in Bismarck, Mandan, and she's going to tell you more about that. Let's hear it for Kay.
Have you ever purchased one of those pieces of furniture that comes unassembled in a box? A bookcase, a shelving unit. Whatever it is, the picture on the box is exactly what you want and need. So you take it home and you dump out the contents of various pieces of pressed particle board, thin metal frame pieces, the brackets that hold up your shelves. Of course, there's also the instruction manual, assorted nuts and bolts, and that one multi-tool Allen wrench screwdriver combo thing that all upstanding Midwesterners have several of in their junk drawers. You have all the pieces, but now you get to put it together. Every person and organization in this room likely has a picture on the box. That thing that you need to build in order to support your mission or achieve a goal. For a nonprofit, that might be your fundraising story. An association, it might be your policy narratives. A public-facing organization might be your communications or public relations plan. Small businesses, your picture on the box might be your marketing plan. Whatever it is, you want the picture on the box, but then when you open the box, pieces don't match. Your webinars, your newsletters, your talking points, social media, all the pieces are there, but they look nothing like the picture on the box because they haven't been put together yet. My name is Kay LaCoe, and I'm a communications and outreach strategist. I specialize in public affairs and outreach campaigns, integrated marketing and communication strategy, and fractional assistance to organizations to connect the dots. Today, I want to tell you a little bit about me and one way I help organizations get clear and stay consistent through my business, LaCoe Solutions. My job is to help you build the picture on the box. But that comes with accepting one simple truth. Some assembly is required. I didn't just grow up in a we don't need no stinking directions household. I grew up with a dad who is spectacularly bad at putting things together. He'll rip open the box, pull out the pieces, skim the instruction manual, grunt something unintelligible, and promptly lose 3 or 4 pieces before abandoning the project altogether. I rode a bike for 3 years that my dad put together with the fenders on backwards, among other questionable structural errors. So I learned really quickly 3 things. Get very clear on what I was going to build. Use the pieces I had to put something together logically, because we all know the instructions are pretty much worthless. And again, use the pieces I had to build something sturdy and useful, even if it meant getting a little creative. Oh, I put together a 3-bin recycling center for my parents when I was 10 years old. I assure you, it lasted much longer than their commitment to save the planet. Easy, the box said. Some assembly required, the box said. Turns out that was the precursor to my entire career. Putting pieces together in plans and actions that help organizations do what they do and do it well. But before I tell you about what I do, I think it's important for me to tell you about who I am and how I approach my work. Because how I work matters just as much as what I produce. And let me start by telling you the most interesting thing about me. I shoot guns off of horses for competition. I have been competing with horses in various disciplines nearly my entire life. And about 10 years ago, I was introduced to the sport of cowboy mounted shooting. Combine the best things: horses, guns, and competition. What's not to love? I fell in love immediately. And now, very quickly, because this is just the hook, I promise, cowboy mounted shooting was invented in the desert of Arizona about 30 years ago. And back then, they actually did use live ammunition to shoot targets off of horseback. We have evolved. We are now a spectator-friendly sport of shooting balloons with black powder fired from a single-action .45 revolver, a shotgun, or a rifle at Mach chicken speeds. There are roughly 100 different patterns which dictate the order in which we are to shoot the balloons. And at any given event, we will shoot 12 or more different patterns. Each pattern, we shoot 10 balloons with 2 different guns. I knew that one was going to be a problem. We shoot 10 balloons with 2 different guns and are often turning in times faster than the world record time in the barrel racing at the National Finals Rodeo. But the details aren't important. What's important is what it tells you about me. It tells you that I'm comfortable with complexity and that I can process a lot of information very quickly without panicking. It tells you that I trust repetition, patterns, and practice. It tells you I value relationships, trust, and communication. And it also tells you I don't mind a little risk as long as it's calculated. I grew up in Bismarck, North Dakota, raised here my entire life. The longest amount of time that I spent outside of the state involved horses. I was an equestrian major at Rocky Mountain College in Billings, Montana for 2 semesters before I figured out I was going to have to get a big girl job in order to afford my horse habit. So back to Bismarck I moved, and I enrolled at the University of Mary. Yeah, okay. I got a bachelor's of science degree in business communications. Y'all, I earned my BS in BS. But I took my BS to a whole nother level when I went back a couple of years ago and got my master's degree from the University of Mary. Not done. I tripled down on my BS this year by beginning to adjunct teach oral communications at the University of Mary. I am truly spreading my BS everywhere. Now, as far as my professional career, I started as a writing intern at Basin Electric. I then moved to Agency Mabu, where I was a marketing and communications coordinator. Through my work at Agency Mabu and with Mike Mabin, the owner, I got a great introduction to juggling multiple interests, balancing competing deadlines, and all sorts of competing stakeholders and ideas and projects. Really, the full gamut of communications, from writing to research, design, and project management. And I remember when I told Mike that I was going to look for employment elsewhere and that I was leaving, that one of the deciding factors for me to leave was because I wanted fewer bosses. It went something like this. All of my clients are my boss, and Mike, you're my boss, and I just want one boss. Mike laughed at my 25-year-old naivete, and it did not take me long to get the punchline of the joke, which was me, because where I went seeking less oversight was the Lignite Energy Council, a trade association with roughly 100 or more bosses. I was beholden and responsible to a board of directors, multiple committees, membership companies, policymakers, and the general public. So I went and got more bosses when I was trying to escape fewer bosses, but I launched myself full on into one of the greatest loves of my life, association work. I started off my 17-year career at the Lignite Energy Council as a communications specialist. I moved into director of membership, marketing, and education. During that, I took over the long-standing Lignite Education Seminar and developed it beyond a standalone event into a fully scoped education program. Simultaneously, I managed and administered their membership recruitment and retention program, as well as planning and executing the major events throughout the year. Somewhere in between, I also developed or led the charge to develop the Lignite Energy Foundation, the charitable arm of the organization. And eventually I found myself in my final position there, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs and Communications. In this role, I was immersed in governance, executive management, policy. I was responsible for the public affairs program, the communications, and I served as a communications point of contact and spokesperson in various capacities. My work was rooted in connecting policy to people, translating complex topics, initiating and carrying out multiple outreach and education campaigns, and of course, engaging with our stakeholders, policymakers, and the public. I loved my work. 17 years at a fantastic organization. I loved the people I did it for. I loved my industry. But that call, the pull, the tug to do something different, maybe something on my own, just kept getting louder and louder over the years. And it turns out life listens, because in early of 2025, the sands of change had started to move at the council, and a friend said something that stuck with me. When the sands shift, leap forward. So I did. I had already registered LaCoe Solutions in early 2024, and I like to believe that back then Kay knew exactly what today Kay was going to want and need, where I was going to land. So I set in motion the wheels to transition my work, and I stepped away from my role at the Lignite Council at the end of May in 2025. A couple days later, I was a full-time consultant. That has been a trip. You know, when I left, I had this general idea of what I wanted to do. I had my picture on the box, but I can assure you I did not have a fully assembled plan. Up to this point, my career could be summarized that I had been developing messages and strategies to move people to act. Surely, that would be easy to apply to my business and my situation. I was my worst client. I needed exactly what I planned to do for other people. Define audiences, develop messages and strategies to reach those audiences, step in and develop programs on little bandwidth, serve as executive oversight and connect the dots on new organizations. I had an answer for all of that. I'd been doing all of that, but I missed a crucial step. My mom has this saying, and I'm sure you've heard similar sentiments: the cobbler's kids have no shoes. I had been negligent in my own planning while being an expert for others in theirs. And that's when Some Assembly Required was born. This past summer, I went camping with my dog, just me and my dog for just one night. And I needed to put together a TV stand that came unassembled in a box. So as I sat on the floor of the camper with this absolute disastrous mess of pieces, horrible instructions, and that niggling feeling that I've either lost pieces or they were never there to begin with, or I was going to end up with extra pieces, I realized this is exactly how organizations feel. They often have the right pieces, They're just not sure how to put them together to resemble what's on the box. So let's go back to that picture on the box. You have a picture in your head of the trust you want to build, the actions you want people to take, the messages that you want to deliver. You also have the pieces, programs, people, content, and maybe even that one really enthusiastic volunteer that keeps saying, "We should be on TikTok." But some assembly is required. The question for you is, do you want to rely on that Allen wrench alone? Or do you want someone who's been doing this work her entire life sit on the floor with you, spread out the pieces and say, "All right, let's build this thing"? Now, if you're sitting here thinking, we don't have the pieces, heck, I don't even think we have a picture on the box, that's okay, because I can help with that too. So some assembly required is the story of how I approach my work. Let's take a look at what that is when we look at your pieces in that box. When we open the box, the first thing that we look for is the frame. These are your content pillars. The 3 to 5 things that you are an expert in, that you want to be known for. This is not everything to everyone. This frame is what keeps you from chasing every shiny object that comes up. It allows you to say, if it doesn't fit here, it doesn't get built. Then we pull out the shelves. Those are your goals and your outcomes, the specific things that your shelf needs to hold. This might be registrations, revenue, policy wins, enrollment. Whatever it is, until you decide what goes on these shelves, you don't know until you know what these shelves are, you don't know what's going to go on those shelves. Next comes the nuts and the bolts. This is your evergreen content. This is your always true messages. What you always say, the points should never change. You just edit it to address different audiences or different needs. In many instances, this is your story. The brackets that keep your shelves from sagging are your calls to action and your quick objectives. Register by Friday, bring a friend, send in a donation. Those little quick things that support your goals. Without these supports, you can have a frame and you can have shelves, but nobody dares to use it. And of course, the instruction booklet. This is your calendar, your workflow, your communications plan. This is often where people get stuck or worry about, feel overwhelmed. It's the part that answers, what are you going to say, to whom, and to when, and when. And then there's the multi-tool. We definitely don't get this in the box, but it's a much more useful multi-tool than what they send. That is your tools and your channels. Email platforms, social media, your website. Maybe even your volunteer that loves TikTok. They matter, but they're not the plan. This is just how you tie everything together once the pieces are established. So as long as your frame, your pillars is strong, the shelves, your goals and objectives are clear, the nuts and bolts, your evergreen content, are doing their job, and the supports, your calls to action, are in the right places. You can decorate as much as you want without overwhelming the structure. That's when you can decorate with a basket, add plants, tuck a lamp on top, design a new campaign, find a new channel, define a different target audience. If as you listen today and you've thought of a board you sit on, a client you serve, maybe your own organization, I invite you to introduce us, connect the dots, bring me in, put me in front of the room. Let me help them get the picture off of the cardboard and into real life, because you should not let some assembly required hold you back.
Joe's going to be on the mic here, so if you have a question for Kay, please raise your hand, and Joe will make sure to get the mic mug into your hand. Kay, great presentation. I enjoyed the metaphors you used. Just maybe a foundational question to start with, like, what does a target customer look like for you? Is it more in the association space? Is it a startup? Is it an established business? All of the above? What?
You know, I would have answered that question entirely different 10 months ago. Because 10 months ago, when I left my career K 1.0 and went to 2.0, I really envisioned that I would be helping mostly associations, nonprofits, and that's definitely where my love lies. But I've been working with a lot of small businesses, and this is the piece that I've found most have missed. And I've said it in several different audiences, several different cases, that it doesn't cost more money to plan, but it sure will cost you money if you don't plan. So taking that time to define the things, really, it's applicable to everyone, but sometimes small businesses that have limited, especially limited bandwidth, this is where it really applies.
So in either planning or over planning or lack of planning, it sounds like is more often the case. Where do you see the most common missteps resulting from that lack of planning?
Everything to everyone. It really is. And I've fallen victim to it in my career as well, is that, well, we're just going to say this because I don't want to alienate someone, or I don't want to miss this, or what if I miss this company, or what if I miss this customer? And when you're shooting a wide net, you're likely to miss the ones that are going to bring you the best return on your investment. And I've said it time and time again, especially the last 3 months, relationships have become a buzzword. That should never be a buzzword. Relationships should be the foundation for everything. You cannot have a relationship with everyone. You have to pick out those that are going to be the most worthwhile for both you and the client or the customer.
So we see that a lot too, as just scope creep, right?
Yes.
That one thing isn't working all that well, you're not getting traction on it, so we're going to add another thing, and we're going to add another thing, and pretty much pretty soon your brand is so diluted, you're not,
Well, and to that too, it's consistency and clarity. The easiest way, the best way to build trust is to be consistent. And if they're coming to your Facebook or they're coming to your website or whatever it is, and they're getting different messages, well, what are you? Who are you? What are we doing here?
That's one of the hardest things for our clients and for us too at the Small Business Development Centers, is that market research, validating the opportunity or problem or the market opportunity there, and then kind of defining your target customer. So can you walk us just a little, without getting us too far behind the hood, a little bit about how that process works for you? How do you approach market research and defining a target customer?
Excellent question. So ideally, you would invest in some sort of market research, use what's already available at the different organizations. But where I find my clients having the most success is sitting down. I tell them, give me 5 hours of a week. That's it. And we're going to take the first 40 minutes and we're going to know immediately who you need to reach. And that often is who needs your service, can they afford your service, and are they looking for your service. And often that leads us into what is your service. And usually we have to flip that back around, because you need to identify, again, those pillars. What is your subject matter expertise? And then that's going to define your clients, your customer, and the messages you deliver.
That's a common kind of jump we see clients take too, is jumping past really understanding your value proposition. What are you selling and why people want to buy it?
That was my biggest holdup, I tell you what.
So back to your IKEA furniture metaphor, I can empathize with your dad because that's my approach too, is throw everything on the floor and then,
that was the thing.
take a crack at it first, and then you got to read the instructions. But inevitably, there's always 3 or 4 or 5 pieces of hardware left over at the end, and you're going, well, did I miss something? Is this supposed to be here? I wish they would say in the directions there's going to be.
Giving you extra pieces.
Right, right. But I think another part of your metaphor that's apt here is how do you, sometimes clients have sunk cost into an approach.
Yeah.
And how do you get them to kind of unhinge themselves from that sunk cost and realize, hey, we have to pivot off of this and leave that hardware behind?
That is exceptionally difficult, and I tell you what, I have been that client that had sunk costs into something, and it really just comes down to identifying what is the goal that you want to achieve here. You have to get so specific about what it is you want. And it might be one thing, it might be a million things, but if we can get it down to being very, very specific, I want to increase my sales of this product by 10% within the next X number of months. Okay, now, how is that tool, because that's usually what I see, a tool or training or sometimes even staff, how is that connecting the dots? And sometimes it's a matter of going through the pieces, walking through, what are your content pillars? What do you want to achieve? What needs to happen in order to do that? We can come back to this, but you have to build the foundation. You have to have that base first. Tools and all the rest could be really fancy things, but you have to have that message first.
Another framework, as you were talking, and what your answer there just led me to this too, is one of my favorite books is 4 Disciplines of Execution, 4DX. And in that book, they set up a framework of lagging indicators versus leading behaviors. And I think identifying your goals and what you're going after and what is your core pillars, those are the lagging indicators. But oftentimes for an entrepreneur, that's customer conversion or sales or profitability, and those are absolutely important to track and identify goals there. But the next step then is to identify the leading behaviors that's going to lead to those over time. And I think that's where at least our clients get tripped up. I'm curious, same thing too, those leading behaviors, whether it's X number of social media posts a week or so many cold calls a week, or however you want to track those leading behaviors, it takes time and a certain runway before they get traction. So how do you deal with clients that don't have the patience for that runway needed?
That's where, if I can get them locked in, and I've found success in this, is give me 5 hours. I know it sounds like a lot, but if we can dedicate 5 hours, ideally 1 hour each day for 5 days, you will walk out with what you need to focus on and the next steps to take. I will trail on to the end of that by saying the thing that I find is most difficult to get any client to walk away from, or at least temper, is social media. That is that lagging behavior. We have this idea in our head that you have to be on social media, and that's why I kind of made fun of we need to be on TikTok. Why? The 5 whys. Keep asking why until you get to a, well, you know, I don't have an answer for that 5th why. Might be an indication. And if we're talking especially small community, Bismarck, even North Dakota, relationships. And it's really hard to build relationships as a brand on social media.
A whole nother discussion about our short attention spans, that have been trained by social media, and our need for more nuance in conversations. Right. You mentioned your job, and something you're really good at is translating complexity and communicating complexity. So, and if that's in the social media space, what does that look like? Versus, all right, if it's not possible there, what are the other avenues that organizations, businesses, associations can use to keep people's attention span captured for a bit?
Yeah, social media can be used, and it can be used really effectively to translate those complex topics. But again, you have to be very clear about who are you talking to. And don't get caught up in that if you make a Facebook post, that it has to tell everybody everything, because it doesn't. You might be making a Facebook post that is speaking to just the University of Mary students sitting in this audience. Just because it doesn't apply to somebody else doesn't mean that it's not a worthwhile post. But that's why the planning is so crucial, because you need to know Who are your target audiences? What do they need to know? And how do they get that information? And otherwise, that's the best way to translate a complex topic or just build a relationship, is know who your audience is. I spent 2 full weeks with my students out at UMary just doing audience analysis, trying to pound it into the head that what you want doesn't matter. It's what your audience needs and wants. I mean, that's one of the key things in Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. What does your audience need? That's what's going to translate those complex topics.
I think it's one of the real values of working with a third-party consultant, like you were.
Refocus.
Right. Well, and when somebody's so in their association or in their organization or in their business, it's hard to take that step back and see the forest from
and
the
trees.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. So having that third party to pull you back and get a different set of eyes on it is really valuable for folks in the room or businesses that are trying to do that. How besides talking to you, of course, that would be the first step, I'm sure. But what can they do to kind of get that step out of the business or from working in the business to on the business?
One of the things I've encouraged my friends and clients and other business owners, I'm getting my butt kicked by this thing, you guys, is to start asking around. Ask within your organization. Come up with 2-3 questions. What's the number one thing that we do? What's the number one service that we provide? What's the, whatever that is, and see how many different answers you get. If you're getting different answers from your board of directors, your volunteers, or your staff, that should be that, oh boy. Because if they can't be consistent to take your message forward, then you're not giving them a consistent message enough to carry. So again, it comes back to that consistency, but really all you really have to do is ask within. Heck, even ask this group that's sitting out here, what does that business do? And if there's different answers, varying answers, you got some work to do.
So one first step is identifying the goals. Then another critical step is making sure all the arrows within the organization are pointed towards those goals. And that's often not the case.
No, it's not. I say even your finance director should know exactly, coming from an association or a nonprofit standpoint, your finance director should know exactly why the policies that you're going after are important. Your administrative assistant sure better know what that fundraising story is and why that's important. Every person in the organization should have the nuts and the bolts so they know what to say when they're stopped at the supermarket and asked about what they do.
Good. Chad's got a question here.
All right. Love the analogy. I think all of us have been there trying to assemble things, put it together. One thing you mentioned was, that stood out to me was you talked about how, when you decide to go to consulting, you thought about, hey, I haven't been building this up the way I should on my own. I haven't been focusing on my own messaging, my own career, maybe in the same way. And so my question is, for our audience, those that are just starting out or looking to start their careers, those that might be mid-career or towards the end of their career, it's a little bit of that, what would you do differently, or what do you wish you'd know now, but what advice would you give to them to make sure that they're messaging clearly about and for themselves as well, for their own professional development?
Yeah, there's a bunch of ways to take this, but from my own personal experience was everything I read, the want ads, what we're looking for, heck, even RFPs, look at them. They're a litany of lists of different skills and tactics and backgrounds and so on and so forth. And usually, at least in my world, it was labeled with specialist. There ain't nothing about a list of 100 different skills going the full gamut of anything that says specialist. That says generalist. And I really, really wanted to fight against that because I am a true generalist. I can code a website and I can go testify before Congress. It doesn't matter. I can do it. So I wanted to buck that trend. And I learned very quickly over the course of the last few months that no, people really, really do want a specialist. You might be able to have these other skills, but those skills better support that 1 or 2 things that you're dang good at. And that's what I would tell anybody from my own 18-year-old all the way up to someone that's looking for a career 2.0 is know what you are really good at and figure out how everything else can support that, because people want to go somewhere and to somebody that knows 100% that they're the best at that. That's what I would recommend. And I tell you what, I hated it.
Well, I'll add to it. I think you're spot on. As one, specialists are important,
Right.
and you don't have to be great at something right now, but know what you want to get good at, know what
Yeah.
you're passionate about, and then focus on really building a strong, deep skill set around that. One thing that has to come with that is training your attention span like a muscle, because as data is becoming has
That's
become
a
a
work in
commodity.
progress over here.
Well, for me too, but I think that is a critical skill set going forward, is just the ability to focus on one thing deeply, so you can develop a deep skill set in something. But yeah, and I'll second too that all that leftover hardware that we have after building things, everybody has their spot in their shed or in their garage with all that hardware. It sits there for 363 days a year doing nothing. But that one day where you find the little hook or the
My
little
boneyard.
screw, absolutely, and it's like, oh, this is the perfect one I needed for this job. I knew it was worth it to hang on to all this. All worth it, for sure.
I want to tack on one other thing, though, is make sure what you're good at and what you want to do matches what's out there, because you can be really, really good in something. Like if I was really, really good at surfing and I was going to coach surfing, Bismarck, North Dakota is not my area. So make sure that what you want and good at is also wanted and available out in the marketplace.
Yeah, match a skill set to a market need.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what, I know you talked through some lessons learned in your presentation here, but when did you make the official pivot to full-time into LaCoe Solutions?
June 2nd. So my last official day was, I think, May 31st at the council, and then I think that was over a weekend. So it was the 1st or 2nd of June. But I'd kind of been operating in that capacity for the last 5-6 years, more or less, at the council, as I approached my work there by guiding their public affairs committee, by guiding the communications. I put myself in that consultant role because I wasn't there to carry out my wishes. I wasn't there to carry out my agenda. I needed to take what my clients, basically my members, needed and move that work forward. So I got a good introduction to that, but it wasn't until June, and I had 3 clients right off the bat that trusted me, and they're still with me. Thank God for them, because otherwise I probably would have been in the corner crying in the fetal position somewhere. So.
Well, we have a nice segue question coming from our live streaming community who's watching on YouTube right now. But somebody's asking, do you enjoy being your own boss? I'd say especially after having the hundreds of bosses at the Lignite Council that you mentioned.
I do. I absolutely love it. It is one of the most challenging but rewarding things I have ever done. And I don't have to tell anybody in this room, if you're on your own, if you're your own boss, you get to dictate your schedule and this, that. No, BS. You are not dictating anything about your own life anymore. But I do like the freedom, as I get to do so many different things. I do still value, and I've said this to my husband and my mother in the audience, that my goal here is, if I end up consulting my entire life, cool, awesome, I'll retire at that. But I'm really looking to use this, the couple of years, 5 years, whatever it is, a stepping stone, because I love to get behind one mission. I love to put all of my efforts into moving something forward or being an advocate. And that is definitely on my horizon. I would love to find that next thing that I can, feel that passion about. And as I say that, I literally get goosebumps because I do love to put my effort behind something else. But tell you what, I am loving the variety. I have learned so much more about the state I have lived in for 43 years in the last 8 months than the previous 40 years. Yeah. It's really cool. We live in a great place.
Yeah. Kind of a segue from that question is, you're a communication professional, right? You're a marketing professional. Would you describe yourself that way, I guess? Marketing communications?
Communications, yeah.
So pivoting from working for another organization where you're aligned with the mission, you certainly believe in the mission, I'm guessing, to your own organization, your own business. What lessons learned have come from that in the messaging and communication space? Was it what you expected? What were the surprises?
You can hide behind no one. Yeah, it really, that is the biggest lesson is I had, and my husband can sit here and attest to it, I had, this confidence that I was really good at what I did and I really could do all these things. And that took a major hit about in the mid-process because it was like, well, maybe I was only good because somebody else was telling me what to do. Maybe I was only good because I already had these predefined things that I needed to accomplish. So it's been this whole roller coaster of getting back to the point that, yeah, I can do this. And what I have to offer is valuable to people.
You're doing the same thing you ask your clients to, right? Like
Yeah.
communication is a broad kind of abstract concept, right? So
Yes.
you have to focus down on, all right, what are really the pillars of value that I provide?
Right.
That's
Yeah, and then
settled.
define, yeah, exactly. What can I do? And that's why I did pivot away from, I came out, basically was like, I'm going to be marketing. It's not really, I include marketing in that strategy, but there is a difference between communications and marketing.
Oh, my mind just went blank. I had a question, I promise. Joe, help me out here. I just completely lost it, sorry.
I do have to say that this is probably the least amount of steps I've ever had to get in. It was so well communicated. I guess I'll ask a question. So when you're getting into the consulting side, you're not always going to get that one client right away that is going to be your meal ticket, that's going to put the food on the table, roof over your head, pay all the bills. So when you were making that transition, going from stable income to, well, I don't know what might come down the pike, you might have one or two little clients to make that jump. How did you bridge that gap? How did you make that transition?
Well, I have no savings left. Really, that was the panic point. And if I have not gotten it clear, I am a planner to the extreme. I will have lists to make lists. So to all of a sudden have this complete ambiguity of how are my horses going to eat, because they are like the priority. It was scary. And yeah, I did have these little breadcrumbs along the way, and that's why I say I cannot thank those people and friends enough that trusted me. It took me about 6-7 months to lock in that big client. It's about part-time work, and that's been great. But what I loved about the whole process is it allowed me some time and some opening to take on some other things, volunteering, teaching out at UMary, announcing that I'm running for Burleigh County Commission. So I've found things to fill the gaps. Maybe not financially, but
Yeah, some things that you care about.
yes,
time.
yeah,
Does-
passion projects for sure.
Good. Ben's got a question up front here.
You maybe, is this on?
Yep.
You maybe explained this already, so my apologies. But what would you say is the difference between marketing and communication?
Excellent. My takeaway and how I define the difference between communications and marketing is communications is the words and the emotion and the feeling and the why behind what you're doing that then supports the marketing activities of telling everybody else that. So the communication aspect is really the talking points, figuring out your target audience and what makes them tick. And then the marketing is supported with those messages that get the message out. That's your advertising, that's your appearing at 1 million cups, that is, joining the Bismarck Mandan Chamber, whatever it is. The marketing gets the word out. The communications is what forms the words.
Yeah, so as you're saying that, communication is kind of establishing yourself as a trusted provider of whatever service or product
Right.
you're out there. Marketing is how do you get that in front of folks and the call to action.
Absolutely, and you can differentiate even marketing and sales. There's a lot of overlap there, and that again is your marketing is what's getting it out there, and the sales is the action of bringing that then in, those leads in, converting those leads. So they all should work together, because if your salespeople are saying something different than what your CEO is saying, we got problems. But they all do need to work together, but they can and should be very different functions in many ways. Not always, but many ways.
And actually, Joe's question reminded me what my question was, that for any service provider, there's always a challenge of when you hit your ceiling on my revenue and my sales are tied to time I have to bill out, right? And so you're looking at that as I got 15 to 20 hours or whatever it is, and just admin time and business development work and networking time every week. If I want to keep a reasonable schedule, that gives me 20 to 30 hours maybe of billable time per week. So that limits how much revenue you have, right? So I'm curious, how do you think about that challenge as an independent consultant in scaling this? And if you're good, it's okay to just be good with your billable time too. How do you approach that?
No. I have said very often that I really need to start limiting the non-revenue generating activities. I'm really good at the non-revenue generating activities, and that is really difficult. I actually met with another entrepreneur yesterday to talk about, looking at a virtual assistant. How can I identify the things that are most worth my time? Not that anything is not valuable, but you have to be able to allocate your time accordingly, and definitely should be dictated by a budget. So I say repeatedly, your plan should dictate your budget should dictate your activities. And that's really what it comes down to. It was no different than when I was in the professional world, the association world, that you don't take someone that's getting paid $200 an hour and stock the fridge with pop. Not that it's beneath them, but it isn't leveraging your assets very well.
No, it's some,
So
conversation.
it's a balancing act, let me tell you.
Yeah, especially any solopreneur needs to really think about what.
Yeah, I'm like, how can I scale?
Your highest value activity, and your highest value activity is evident. You're great on stage, and the
thank you.
presentation was great. But with that in mind, this hour went very quickly. We're up to our last question, and Joe, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you for joining us, and great presentation. As I said, this is probably the least amount of steps I've ever had to get in mug running, so you answered everybody's questions before they had them. We always ask, as you know, every week the same question is, how can we as the one MC community help support you?
The best way that you can support me and this community is by connecting the dots. That's really what it is. I said earlier that it's all about relationships, and the only way that relationships are made is through conversation. So it might be a conversation, it might be a cup of coffee, it might be bringing me in to do a training session. Whatever that is, I want to talk to people. I want to meet people, and I want to learn more about this community I have lived in my entire life, and that's what excites me. That's what they can help me with. Connect the dots.
Awesome. Let's hear it for Kay one more time, gang.
Thank you, Kay. Good work.
You mind if I steal that picture from you?
Yeah.
Just this one.
Okay.
All right, so coming up here at 1 Million Cups, next week we have Lucid. Eric's going to be here talking about what he has going on there. Week after that, we have the new Bismarck Global Neighbors second home thrift store. So Jessica's going to be talking about the furniture thrift store. They've started supporting Bismarck Global Neighbors. After that, we have Nomi Promo. Ashley with Nomi is going to be here March 4th. So that's what we have coming up here at 1 Million Cups. Here are the ways to stay connected with us, to stay in the loop on what's going on at 1 Million Cups. If you or anybody you know would like to present, our schedule's filling up quickly. We're already scheduled 6 months out, but that 1mcbizman701@gmail.com is the best email to go to with any speaker inquiries. And I think that is all we have for you this week. So thank you all so much for coming. Let's make it a great rest of the week.
Nice work.